to see you, sir.
Chi-Town, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, sports fans love hypotheticals. You know, what this person in their prime versus this person in their prime. Obviously, everyone loves Jordan and LeBron talking about that.
Of course.
In theory, Rocky in his prime versus Adonis in this movie. You put him in the ring, who wins that fight?
I mean, it's so tough because it's like Adonis, I don't think he's in his prime yet. You know, it's only his second film, so I feel like he still has a lot more fighting to do and a lot more experience to gain. So it's a really tough comparison to do. But I mean, I gotta go with myself. You know? I mean, you gotta bet on yourself. So I mean, I would have to say Adonis, even though I don't think it's fair.
That'd be a good fight, though.
I think it'd be a good fight.
I'd pay to see that.
We both can take a punch.
Now, if I were to ask Stallone that question, what do you think he would say?
You say Rocky, of course.
Well, he writes the movie, so whatever he wants to happen will inevitably happen. You know, I feel like I've learned more life lessons from Rocky than I've learned just the character than from most people on this planet. Everything he says is just sort of that beautiful life lesson.
Yep.
In that same vein, what's the most perfect life lesson, the most valuable life lesson that Sylvester Stallone's ever taught you?
I mean, I think to control your own destiny as much as you can, ownership, you know, when it comes to like business and stuff like that, to really, you know, envision what you want to see happen in life and go after it and actually go get it.
That's smart, man. Obviously, you're doing that.
I've been
You had
taking-
another film come out this year that did okay.
Yeah.
That's that small little independent.
That little some
some
Marvel film,
kind of Panther or something. Yeah. You know, I'm always curious whenever actors learn skills for a movie, how much that transfers into real life. In theory, if you were to go to a bar and a guy was going to try to pick a fight with you, could you revert back to your Creed training and just go Adonis on the guy?
Yeah, you don't really lose like those type of like skills all the time. But yeah, you know, I'm usually the guy that disarms situations and kind of like, you know, talks people out of things. I'm the guy that's in between other people that's usually fighting. I'm the voice of reason most of the time.
I mean, I can't imagine someone seeing this movie and then thinking, you know who I want to fight.
You'd be surprised, you know what I'm saying? Because I think Sly, and you know, and you hear stories of Sly was telling me when he was like, you know, he was playing, you know, like when Rocky was, you know, really like hot, and you know, he would be out eating, or you hear stories about Bruce Lee being out eating. You would think people wouldn't want to mess with him because of what they could do, but they're like, you know, they're instigating them, wanting to pick a fight. So people are not as smart as you would think.
Well, then they deserve to get their ass kicked if they're willing to pick a fight with Bruce Lee or Sylvester Stallone. You know, I'm sort of curious. Obviously, Adonis doesn't have a relationship with Apollo because he never got to meet him. I'm curious, because of that, how does that affect your relationship with Carl Weathers? Do you need to have a relationship with him since you're playing his son, or do you need to stay distant because, in theory, you're playing his son but never met him?
One doesn't have anything to do with the other. I think, you know, Carl's awesome. You know, every time I see him and get a chance to speak to him, it's a lot of love and it's a lot of appreciation for what he's done and the legacy he's kind of left open for me to kind of step into. So one has nothing to do with the other.
Fair enough. You know, I always grew up wondering what it would be like to see Rocky in theaters, and I feel like you've given me the closest I could ever experience that.
Man, that means a lot. Thank you,
honor,
bro.
man. Thank you very much.
You look a little bit like young Drago.
First of all, the fact that you just said that I could be like your other Drago son.
Almost, right?
I could be like the one you're ashamed of, the one that just doesn't box. Like the IT guy. Like I just never got into the family business. I'm sort of curious, so much of this movie is about how killing Apollo and losing to Rocky affected Ivan's life. And I'm sort of curious personally for you how that affected your life. After Rocky IV came out, when you went to a bar, did people give you a hard time for killing Apollo, or did they give you a hard time for losing to Rocky?
Most of it killing Apollo.
Yeah?
Still do. But in those days, you know, I remember we did some publicity in those days up northern, you know, uptown Manhattan, and people were a little bit hostile, you know, towards me.
What would they say?
Well, they were just like, hey, man, what'd you kill the brother Apollo for, man?
Hey, wait, what do you say to that? Like, I think I just Carl's still alive.
I just ran to my limo, I think. Carl's still, he's a good guy. I felt bad, though. I was 27 years old. I was a big Rocky fan, and then I read the scripts, like, damn, I'm gonna kill him? Shit. But Stallone's like, good, hit him, Dolph, you know.
You know, sports fans love hypothetical situations, sort of pitting two people at the peak of their career and saying who would win. Obviously, the most famous being Jordan against LeBron. So I'm going to throw something out at you guys. Rocky at his peak versus Victor. Who wins in that fight?
That's a tough one. Well, you know, if Stallone writes the script, then there's a certain chance you're going to lose. Yeah, unfortunately.
I think so.
You will lose.
You will lose.
You will lose.
Part of me, I just think that would be just insane.
That'd be
Whenever you
good.
guys
Good
find
matchup,
yeah, that'd be a great matchup.
Yeah.
When you guys find out that you're going to be playing father and son, I'm sort of curious, what do you look at Dolph and say, okay, if I'm going to get this right, I've got to be able to capture this from him? And then what do you look at and say, he's got to get this right about me if he's going to be my son?
Yeah, just being that killing machine that he is, like the beast that he is. You know, Ivan is, he sets up a goal, and that's winning, and that's what he does. Victor is more emotional.
Yeah.
And, you know, when emotions come in the mix, then you always could lose your head, and that's what happened also in the last fight. He gets too emotional, the breakthrough with Ivan, then his mother leaving. I think that's the reason why he lost. I think that for Donnie it would be pretty hard to win against Victor, because Victor's a very, very powerful guy. Donnie's coming up to heavyweight, but you know, because of all the emotions in the mix, I think it played out very well for Creed.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, I mean, when I met you, I knew he was going to physically fit the bill. I just thought it was for, you know, because the script was such a dramatic story for us that I thought, you know, the most important thing was for us to get to know each other.
Exactly.
So immediately, you know, I invited him to the gym in L.A. We were training, and we got to know each other, and we rehearsed together. A lot of our difficult Russian scenes. I had like 40 lines in Russian. I think in the last picture, I had like 2 lines in there. You know, no, I had like 5 lines, and here I had 40.
All of which
Russian.
were amazing, by the way.
Yeah, well, most thanks. So yeah, for me, it was more important to be emotionally connected to him, both as you know, as actors, but also as characters. So yeah, that's what I wanted to work on.
Personally, I've always wanted to, on my bucket list, run up the Rocky steps and do that. And I feel like whenever I tell people that, everyone's like, "Oh, that's so lame." Especially people in Philly, they're like, "That's so lame. Don't do that. It's the most cliche thing."
So, but are you going to do it? You're here in
I
Philadelphia.
know. I kind of want to. I was going to ask you, have you ever
you might
done
have to
it?
change your shoes.
I know. Well, I can still run in these. Is it lame to these days, all these years later, to run up? Is it cliche?
No, it's not any lamer than going to like Pat and Gino's and eating cheesesteaks. It's
Right?
It's the same diff. No, do it.
Have you done it?
No, definitely not.
Could we do it together?
I just eat cheesesteaks. I don't. You know what I mean?
Well, we could eat the cheesesteaks and then run it off by running up the Rocky steps.
I suppose I should do it one day. Yeah, no, I've never done it. I've like you know, leisurely walked on them.
And then casually, like, sort of put your arms up in the air?
No, I've never done it. You want to do that?
Yeah.
You wanna do the whole thing?
You gotta do the whole thing.
Are you gonna be humming?
To be fair, I'm always humming that.
You
It would just be applicable
in your
on
mind.
the steps. Yeah, exactly.
I think do it. I think you only have one life to live.
This is
and
true.
I don't know why you don't start living it now.
And we're in Philly, so why not?
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I love about Bianca is that she is the person that, maybe not literally, but metaphorically, she is in Adonis's corner. She's the one that is supporting him and telling him everything he needs to know when he's at his lowest points.
Yeah.
Who is that person for you that's in your corner?
Oh, goodness. I'm really lucky to have lots of people. My friends. I have my friends, my family, my parents, the people that are here with me today that painted my face and slicked
You
up
look beautiful,
my
by the way.
hair and tell me not to say silly things. I feel really lucky to have a lot of people, you know, metaphorically in my corner.
Yeah. You know, whenever I see your character in this movie, even though we don't necessarily see it, my thought was if she got into a fight, she could probably kick some ass too.
I so appreciate that. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Is there any chance we could get a fight scene in Creed 3?
I mean, potentially, yeah, potentially. Certainly a verbal fight scene. I love that, you know, Bianca's a woman that is unafraid to say how she feels. Yeah. So that's certainly probably in the cards. But I'm, you know, I like to talk it out. I'm not a puncher.
I'm curious, whenever you're developing your relationship with Michael, was there any point that you looked at the earlier relationship between Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone to sort of see how their relationship evolved in the movies?
Yeah, of course. Also just because I love watching them
Right.
play together. I just remember seeing that movie as a kid, and to me the beauty of the first Rocky especially is that it's just a love story.
Yeah.
Set in the world of boxing. And Talia Shire, like what she brings to it, she's so iconic and so cool. You know, I wanted to work at a pet store after seeing that film.
Yeah.
Like, she's so awesome. So yeah, I went back and watched the second film too, and yeah, I love watching them. And I like in this film that we, you know, get to sort of play an homage to that, but we're also establishing characters that are new and fresh and different.
For sure. Like I was saying, it was sort of like getting to see Rocky for the first time, but also like this series is quickly becoming one of my favorite series in movies. So seriously, you're amazing in everything you do, and I'm a big fan of yours. I follow you on Twitter. You're fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for everything that you do and for the person
you
that
saw
you are.
my random tweets late last night.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
My favorite thing is just to delete them, but then we live in a world where people screenshot, so that's fun.
Don't worry, you do you. And
I don't know how to do anything else.